Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Tech Tuesday. I am broadcasting live from the ACA NCAL convention at Mandalay Bay Resorts in Las Vegas. And so you'll see the background looks a little weird. The other thing is that's hard is I'm sitting in this chair that makes me look like I'm slumped over like a little old man. I guess I'm probably not supposed to say that. That's probably an ageist statement, right? And anyway, but I'm a little slumped over, and Jada, who's producing, is actually at the Smash conference, also in Las Vegas, and so we are on the road. Sharon, you're in your office, right?
I'm in my office in Maine, and not at a conference.
So we're going to have a great conversation about dementia, how best practices, the evolving best practices. But first, this. Hey guys, Steve Moran here. Sharon, welcome to Foresight or Tech Tuesday. Let's actually start talking a little bit about who you are, what you do, what you're passionate about.
Sure, absolutely. I am super excited to be here and to talk about Connect. I am the brand experience manager for the app called Connect, which is created by a research team called Hopeful Aging. And we've been working to develop this for the better part of 30 years in conjunction with grants from the National Institute of Health and others to help us create this amazing system. Dementia education and engagement is my passion. I've been working on it for 25 years, and every single day it energizes me. And I'm really, really excited to be able to share this with people in the hopes that it can bring some additional engagement tools for people that are living with this.
So there are lots of people who have developed technology for dementia, and I think that it's sort of used and sort of not used. What makes what you're doing different, special?
So what makes it special, first of all, is what's inside the technology is something that the research team has been working on, as I mentioned, for about 25 years. It is a sort of repository of engagement activities, reading materials, things like that have been really carefully curated and field tested to enhance engagement for people living with dementia, and particularly in the lane of social engagement, meaningful social engagement. That's what the system is designed to do. So our tagline is more than just fun, because it is fun, but also while people are using the system, they're getting cognitive wellness benefits beyond just the fun. And that is the connection that they're building with other people that is essential to cognitive wellness.
So talk to me a little bit more about cognitive wellness and what that means with dementia, because I guess I sort of think about it, and of course, in fact, I have a Connect tablet that I've been using, not as much as I should, but a little bit with my stepfather, and we'll talk a little bit more about that experience and what I've learned so far. But talk to me about what cognitive wellness it means, because to me, it's just a downhill slide.
So, cognitive wellness for all of us depends on a lot of things, and that's part of what our research team studies. But in particular, the aspect of this meaningful social connection with other people is an essential component to cognitive wellness. And I always use the example of people that have worked in the field or been in the field when the COVID pandemic hit. And what that emphasized for us in terms of cognitive wellness was something that we already knew, but it was so evident once we had to start isolating people from each other. And what we saw in the field was almost immediately a downward spiral in a person's cognitive abilities, which just reinforced for us this need that human beings have to share knowledge, to share advice, to share opinions, and not just be entertained and have fun all the time, but do these things that are essential for our souls.
So let's talk. I want to talk a little bit about my personal experience. I don't know what I always feel like when I'm talking about the things I'm struggling with experts. I feel like I'm sort of cheating or forcing my own set of problems on. But I think what I'm experiencing is something that a lot of family caregivers experience. And frankly, I think it's something that a lot of professional caregivers experience. So I'm out of town, so obviously I'm not seeing my stepfather, but when I'm in town, I go visit with him nearly every day. And he's got two or three questions he asks me over and over again. How much money do I have? How much does it cost to live here? Where do you live? Have you seen the guys? And we go through these over and over and over again. And then I sort of run out of things. I mean, sometimes I'll tell them stories about what's happening in my life, but I quickly run out of things to talk about. And it's very difficult. And frankly, as I've watched when he's been in a couple of different senior living communities, and to some degree, it's even true in the one he's in, which we're super happy with. They struggle with how do you keep engaging with somebody who frankly can't remember what you talked about 2 minutes ago. And so let's talk broadly, sort of in principle, about what that looks like, and then maybe about how your app helps with that.
Sure. So first of all, our approach, our philosophy is to focus on skills. It's a skills-based approach. So we want to look for things that the person can still do and find ways to engage them with that. In terms of the cognitive, the asking the questions over and over again, a lot of times that's basically the person is looking for reassurance. They can't hold on to the information, and so outside of Connect, but a different kind of advice is to come up with ways for them to store that information externally, so that there's a queue or something that they can go to and look for that information. But the profound thing that Connect does is it gives people something, like when you talk about what to talk about with your father-in-law.
Yep.
A lot of times people go to the quiz show, like, what'd you have for lunch and what'd you have for dinner? And did you see the game last night? And for a person with dementia who has short-term memory deficits, that can feel like a test. It can feel like a quiz. They don't like it. It causes anxiety. And so the relationship deteriorates between the people that are having that. What we have learned through our research and what we bake into the Connect app is focusing on communication that uses one of three things: asking a person's advice about something, asking a person's opinion about something, or asking about their preference about something. And these are questions that people with dementia can answer and enjoy answering. And it's a form of self-actualization. So what the Connect app will do is, as you're talking through and you're using the systems and the activities in the system, it will feed you these kinds of questions that we know, because of our research, are not going to cause these anxiety in that reaction of, gee, I feel like I'm being tested. And it also presents the person living with dementia as an opportunity to be an expert. So often when someone has dementia, people stop asking them their advice or their opinions about things, but they still have them. And that gives us an opportunity to let them shine and be the person that they are.
So I'm completely grinning about this concept of let me see, it's ask their opinion, ask their advice, and what's the third one?
Preference. So we like to do
the preference. Okay.
Yeah, if you study Greek culture, we like to say opa. When they go cheers, they go opa. So it's opinion, preference, advice.
So the thing that I really like about that is that's actually good advice for me at a conference as I'm meeting new people, right? Is to be able to ask those questions. So it's so human. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to tell you a story. I got the tablet out to try it with Gary, and I picked one of the activities, and it was, I don't know exactly remember what you call it, but it was sort of, do you like to do these things? And it was mountain climbing. Mm-hmm. And it was just the random one that picked of the topic I picked, and I showed him the picture on it, and I used the question on there. I said, have you ever started with saying, have you ever gone mountain climbing? And he started telling me the story about going mountain climbing that I actually am not sure he ever has really gone. And then it led to additional questions about, well, would you still do that? Would you like it? How much did you like it? And it was very engaging, and it was almost shocking how good it was. And so I think you're really onto something here.
Oh, that's such a great, that makes my heart happy, because that's the perfect experience for one of the most important things you said was it doesn't matter if he actually climbed the mountain, right?
Right, right, absolutely.
You're experiencing it together. That can lead to other things that you guys can do together. So the next time you come back, it's like, hey, would you like to read this story about Mount Everest, which is also, contained in the Connect system. So you can use that to springboard meaning and connection between the two of you.
So I really like that. So I haven't actually used that yet. So the next thing to do would be to take one of the stories in there and just see if he wants to hear it, read it, and then that leads to more conversation, right?
Yeah. We call that looping or theme. So you take a theme, you take one of the more basic activity engagement programs like this, would you like to or would you not like to, and you learn things about the person. So you're learning that about Gary in a community setting where a new resident comes in and you don't know what they like to do. You can sort of run through some of these engaging things, which are fun when you do them, but you also learn a lot about the people. And then when you do it with a bunch of people, you can use that to create a group of people who might be interested in learning more about mountain climbing and things like that. So it creates this enriched programming instead of just doing the same thing all the time with our residents that are having memory challenges.
So one of the things it's not related to Connect, but it really struck me. They had an art therapist come in, and he made this picture of a tree that was amazing, and I was like, I had no idea that he had even the ability. Obviously, it was very carefully guided to have success. But I just think there's so much opportunity out there in these kinds of tools. But what I notice in all three of the communities that I'm in is that it feels like to me they need prompting and how to have little mini conversations with residents as they're passing by.
Yes.
And does the tool help with that?
Absolutely. One of the things that happens as you use the tool is that you learn just by using it through osmosis what kinds of questions engage people. And then you can use that as one of the things we suggest if you're a person who does care, for instance, is that you find something to talk about other than the care that, kind of bonds, helps you bond with the person. So the other day when I was driving into work, they had this article about how people are charging now, apparently, to have other people come to their weddings to offset the price of the wedding. So when we went to this organization where we were working, as we're doing the care and the other things, we're asking the people in the program, like, what do you think about that? And do you think that's a good idea? And so it creates this opportunity. Every person that's a care partner knows, a professional care partner. If you don't have a trusting relationship with a person with dementia, you're not going to get anywhere. So creating these opportunities for us to literally connect makes everybody's job easier, makes the relationship more effective, makes the person with dementia's life better. It's just a win-win all the way around.
So, okay, so this is really interesting to me. So I'm away from town for about 5 or 6 days, and to Gary, I am the person.
Mm-hmm.
So even though he's getting lots of interaction with the staff, he's in a residential care home with 6 people. They spend a lot of time with him. And my wife will go over, she's been out of town, but she'll go over and she'll spend time with him. And of course, he's lived with us. So there's a lot of connection, but I'm still the person.
Mm-hmm.
So I think what I'm hearing you say is that the senior living, the care staff need to figure out how to engage enough to become the person. Because I think at least to some degree, somebody else, they might not be ultimately me because I've known them for 30 years and
Right.
those long-term memories are deeper than the short-term memories, but that they could begin to replace at least some of that to take down anxiety.
Yeah, well, definitely not the person. You're always going to be the person, but a person, an important person in their life, and most importantly, someone that they trust.
Yeah.
So that if they're asking, if you're doing care, if you're doing medications, or even if we're just, hanging out together, people want to be close to people that they trust. And there's lots of ways that we can build trust. And having conversations where I ask you to share your knowledge with me is one of those ways.
I like this so much. So I want to actually talk a little bit about the product and the platform itself. Can you talk to me about how people use it? Is it on a laptop, a tablet, a big screen TV? How does it work?
Yep. So it's all of those things happily. It kind of lives in the cloud, and you can use it one-on-one with a person. You can share a tablet together. You can cast it to a large screen TV or other thing like that for a group activity. And there's also a very cool and innovative thing that's called auto sync, where you can sync up a bunch of tablets to work together. So if you've got a group of maybe 8 or 10 people and they each have their own tablet, the facilitator controls all the tablets. So I can turn the pages, I can make sure we're all together. And also you can use it remotely, just like what you and I are doing now. So you could have a tablet and Gary could have a tablet, and you could be sharing an experience remotely if a person with dementia is something that they would enjoy doing.
I didn't really realize that. So like I could do this with him.
Mm-hmm.
I think the tablet's actually actually to my house right now, but if he had it at his house, I could be engaging with him like this.
Exactly. Yep.
Now, do I need Zoom too to supplement that, or does that all happen through the tablet?
Yes, you would need, well, the experience, the activity itself would happen through the tablet. So the optimal way would be if you were each holding a tablet and then you Zoomed to be able to have the conversation. There are other ways to do it, but that's the best way.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you could even do it by phone for that matter, right?
Sure.
If you had the tablet in front of you.
Yep.
So how do people find this, and what's it cost?
So the cost depends on how you use it. So there's
Okay.
a cost for we have a family plan if you're just using it one-on-one like you're doing with Gary. There's organizational plans that there's a discount for how many users you have, and we have a lot of organizations that use it across their dementia programs. So the easiest way to answer that is just, if you're interested, give us a call or check out the website, and we'll customize a plan based on how you want to use it. The most important thing for us, because we're a mission-based organization, is to get this into the hands of people who it can help. And that's really why we spent all this time developing it. So just reach out and we'll figure out a way.
Cool. So have you done any research? I mean, do you have any, I sort of two questions. Research in terms of improvement, and if you have any stories, that would be awesome.
Mm-hmm. So lots of research. Hopeful Aging is a research entity, very well known and respected. And full disclosure, I am not a researcher, but the mountain of evidence, not just for Connect, but for the individual programs that are in it, because we've been testing these for over 20 years. So mountains and mountains of evidence about quality of life and self-actualization. But more importantly to me is what happens frequently is that someone, when you first introduce it, and you may have had this experience with Gary, they're a little reluctant. It's new. People with dementia tend to be like, oh, I don't know. And then the more you use it, one of the things that we practice a lot in our teaching is the use of procedural memory, because that's something that's very strong with people in general when they develop into their dementia journey. So the more you do it, the better they get at it, the more confident they get at it. And for a person many people with a dementia diagnosis, their confidence is going down. Their quality of life is going down. This is the way to rebuild some of that confidence. And we see that happen time and time again, especially when you're asking someone, there's things baked into the system that are called social roles. So for instance, we have like a morning meeting that we suggest everyone does every day. And if you're in a group of people, there are roles for each participant to play. For instance, I could be the weather person for the day and I report on the weather. That gives me a reason to get up in the morning, other than to take my meds and my shower, right? There's people who are counting on me to be there as part of this group. And it creates a completely different dynamic for the person, and it creates a real sense of community.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing that I've seen that I see even in this really good place that we're at, right? It's still mostly I don't know, a lack of better word, an entertainment model, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they do things to keep them busy. I know people hate it. In the dementia world, hate it when you sort of make this comparison with young children. But I think it's an apt description that sometimes when you have really little kids, you're just looking for ways to keep them busy, right? And I think that happens a lot with dementia residents. So I really like this idea that you can actually, give them some purpose, give them a job to do that contributes to the community. I think that's terrific.
And everyone, there's nothing wrong with fun. We are not against fun.
Of
And
course.
part of the reason that Connect works is it is fun. But there's also that, like, even if you're working with small children, you would want to find ways for them to succeed and build their confidence and build that into their day, so that we're not just no one wants to be entertained all day long. There needs to be something else to make life worth living and to create that cognitive wellness. And this is a tool to be able to build some of that back into a person's life that
Yeah.
has dementia.
So this is such a good point, particularly being here in Las Vegas, right? People come here in Las Vegas to be entertained. And usually when they leave Las Vegas, they leave exhausted. And nobody really, wants to stay. I mean, there are obviously people who live here and do all the regular things of life. But the idea, can you imagine being doomed to staying here and going to shows and playing blackjack for the rest of your life? There aren't
Yes.
many people who'd want to do that, right?
It's a hollow, like we always use the example of when someone retires, right? You ask them what they want to do. Well, I'm going to golf, and that, like my brother just retired not too long ago. He's going to golf. Well, he golfed for a month, right? And then it's a hollow existence. You need to give back. You need to find something that's more meaningful than just being entertained and having fun all the time.
Yeah,
and that opportunity is taken away.
And I would tell you, I know so many entrepreneurs. I've actually run into a couple who are friends who are here who sold their companies, and every one of them is back doing something else because retirement isn't very good. Gary, my stepfather, he retired, I think, 3 different times and went back to work because he was playing a lot of golf and tennis, and after a while it got boring.
Yeah, it's kind of a basic human need, right? To be valued, to be seen, to contribute. And we don't give people with dementia that opportunity often enough.
Yep. So do you have any stories you can tell me?
Oh gosh, hundreds. Stories about people using
people using the tablet and it just enhancing lives. I think that storytelling is so valuable. We did this. I mean, I've given you my story, right? That's very simple, but you're deep into it. And so I'd love to just maybe have you talk a little bit about some other people who've used it and the success stories they've had.
Yes. Well, we have so many. One of the things that excites me the most is when, as we were discussing before, when something that happens as they're using the system springboards something else, right? An awareness of, or I never knew that. And one of the best stories I tell all the time is when the founder of our company is Dr. John Zeisel, and he wrote a book called I'm Still Here. And there was a gentleman who we were working with who had mid-stage dementia, and we system and through the artists that we worked with, we gave him the opportunity to paint. And he had never painted before. And he was a New York City cop, hard as nails, not the soft, squishy, painty type. And his daughter was like, he's never going to paint. And through a series of guided sessions that we did, he was able to not only paint, but he became an expression of who he was. And John actually selected one of his paintings to be the cover of his book in one of the editions, because it creates these opportunities for things that you didn't know, to your point about Gary, right? To things that you didn't even know about a person bubble up. And one of the kind of happy accidents of dementia is that things that people never would do before, that filter kind of gets damaged, if you will, and they're open to things. And so this gives you a kind of window into what we could do with this person that could really engage them, and what can we try that they've never tried before in an adapted way. So one of the things I want to make sure people know is that inside of the system is what we call curated activities. So there's things for people to do in the early stage, things for people to do in the mid stage, things for people to do in the later stages. And part of what our research team works on all the time is this way to adapt things as a person ages through their journey, so we can meet them where they're at, which is really important.
Well, I really like that, because I think about this art thing that Gary did. I know not part of the Connected app, but I do think that it's really fascinating, because I think that pre-dementia, you would never, ever, ever, ever have gotten him to do even attempt to paint a picture. And so it's a new adventure, and it's a new way to create. And every time I walk into its room where it sits on the dresser, it just makes me smile. And I have it on my photo album, and I'll see it occasionally as I'm scrolling through photos on my phone. And again, it just makes me smile because it's like, it's a new dimension of him, and it's an expression of his humanity. And, John saying of "I'm still here" it really rings true with that.
Yes, and being seen in the most fundamental way a person can be seen, right? Their essence, and art and culture and music are things that we use often in Connect, and also in the teaching that we do, because it touches a part of the person that the dementia is not touching as much, right? So it lets the person come to the front, the dementia go to the back. And when we create art with people in our programs, we always make sure they sign it and we frame it, because we want to treat it with respect and make sure that that person feels valued and seen for this thing that they've created.
Yeah, it's that's actually a good idea. I should take this picture and get it framed, and I think it would just enhance the specialness of it. So where do you go from here as an organization? Is it continuing to enhance the app, or are you working on other things?
Oh gosh, we never stop. That's Hopeful Aging is never satisfied with anything that we've done. So we have several grants that we're working on now. The most recent one is to add AI capability to the system so that it will learn as a person uses it. Gee, Steve likes dogs. That seems to resonate with him. Let's give him more, almost like what Amazon does. Like, because you purchased this, here's something else you might be interested in. That's something that will be added soon. They're in second phase of clinical trials on that, and we'll be adding that to be able to further enhance the tool and make it even more engaging. Also,
okay, so now you've got I have a big question for you now. So rather than having a human being who is running this program, can I just use AI and the AI walk through it and have this conversation and response? What do you think about that?
That's what we're testing. It's an intriguing possibility because we work with a lot of organizations that they just don't have the time, unfortunately, to do these things one-on-one. So human to human, and this is my opinion, is always better. But in reality, sometimes we just don't have the time to sit, and maybe a really good AI companion might be able to create those kinds of experiences. That's what the grant that we are looking at is exploring. We don't know the answer to that yet.
So I'm actually, it actually pains me to say this, but I actually think that maybe AI would be better at this than humans, because the AI has got infinite patience. It's never going to run out of, AI is never going to go, I don't have another question to ask, or I don't know what to talk about. There's always going to be something else. And I don't know whether there are ethical considerations on this or not, but I actually think that I used to find this idea that an AI agent to have a conversation with a human being as a companion to be super creepy and maybe immoral. I'm less. I actually think more and more that it has tremendous potential.
I agree with you, and I think right now, the best use of AI right now is for people that are not experiencing cognitive challenges, because loneliness in the elderly is an epidemic right now. And then the extra step of using it with a person who's living with a cognitive challenge takes more research to figure out. Like when we started working with tablets, we did a lot of work on trying to figure out how to get a person to be able to read a book on a tablet when they have dementia and they're used to pages. So we had to do a lot of adaptations, things like that. So I think adding the AI for a companion for a person with dementia is going to take a lot more research. But I'll bet I'll get there.
Good. Well, listen, we're about out of time. One more time, kind of, how do people find you? How do they engage you? What's the process of? I look at this and I say, okay, I would like to do this. What's the process of actually getting going? What does that look like?
The best way is to reach out, again, the connectapp.com, schedule a demo, and we will walk you through it. We'll show you all the different activities in there. And then it's a subscription service, so you subscribe just kind of like Netflix, and we'll give you some coaching on optimally using it, and you're ready to rock and roll.
Cool. Thank you very much. Thank you for setting me up with it. We're finding it has value. You've inspired me to get back at it and take bigger advantage of it, which I will do when I get home later this week. So thank you very much for joining us, Jada. Thank you for taking time out at the Smash conference to produce this in the background. And I guess I'll see you at Leading Edge, Sharon.
Hopefully, it's in Boston this year, so very close
Terrific.
to me. Yes,
that's close, right? For you.
That's close.
That's right. Thank you very much for watching. We'll be back on Friday with another great show. Hope you have a great week.